And we are live. Hi, I'm Trevor Smith with the Success with People Academy, and this is another of our live broadcasts. Today, we want to look at how to increase your creativity. And um, when we look at creativity, we want to broaden the, the scope a little bit to include innovation and a bit of problem solving as well. So that's the context of today's broadcast. So we want to welcome you. I want to invite you today to stick around to the end. We have a special offer that we want to extend to you. But pay attention during the session because you're going to have to answer um, something related to what it is that we cover, and then you will be um, you will benefit from your attentiveness, your participation. So stick around to the end. We won't be long. All right. So we want to look at creativity. Many of us look at creativity as something otherworldly. You know, we look at things and we marvel and say, "Oh, I just wish that I had some element, some of this juices flowing through me." But I want to share that creativity is not that esoteric, actually. We did a session earlier that we also looked at creativity and pointed out that largely it's a matter of observation. If we just observe, a lot of what we see and are buying now really just a copy of nature, and we go and do the work to see how nature did it. So basically, it's it's a question of observation. It's also a question of documentation. If you had trends, you could actually predict what's going to happen just by looking at a data set. So those are some of the things I just want to say to you, that if you're in a space where you holding your head and saying, "Oh man, I wish I were creative," you are. We all have creative juices in us, built in. And sometimes we are stifling it by being want to be too much in control of our minds. Sometimes we should just let the mind roam and just go and do what it wants to do. And you'll be surprised to see some of the thoughts um, that are on the table. So let's move forward. Our agenda today is that we want to look at understanding creativity. Want to look at two definitions. One of them scary, and the other one a lot broader. That would be more aligned with the mindset that I want us to take when we look at creativity. And by the way, there's a chat option available in this um, forum. We are actually live on LinkedIn, and we are on InfoServe People Tech Solutions on Facebook, and also extended these solutions on Facebook. So you can just type in the chat, and um, we will be able to respond. We want you to be interactive. We love interactive sessions. So we also want to look at the importance. I think maybe that is not even so necessary now, as we see disruption and creativity, innovation, all of that is now coming to the fore. So leaders need to step up um, to being a lot more innovative, creative. So we also want to look at now two foundations of creativity. I'm going to talk about how two types, two styles of thinking really underpin what we understand as creativity, and to how you can actually apply those um, to work or to yourselves. So we want to look at practical applications of this concept that we're talking about today. And remember, please stick around. There is something that we want to share with you that will make a difference. All right. So there we go. So first um, definition is from the Oxford Dictionary, and it says the use of imagination or original ideas to create something. And that's kind of scary because that's where it is. You know, imagination. My imagination is limited. Original ideas. I can't tell the last time, if ever, I've had an original idea. You can actually test me in many areas. Academically, I am brilliant. Know a lot of information. I have a lot of things stored in my brain. I'm not sure how much of that came from me or whether I just ingested that. So that's one kind of scary thing. That's why people are thinking that creativity is sort of otherworldly because that's where we are. Bright, 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 but it's more ingested information as against original thought. The California State University gives us hope. It says creativity is defined as the tendency to generate, so that's still like the first, generate or recognize. It gives me hope, ideas, alternatives, or possibilities that may be useful in solving problems, communicating with others, and entertaining others, ourselves and others. So that gives us a broader scope. So we don't necessarily have to generate the idea ourselves, but we can actually recognize, which is sort of where I was going to say, if you observe, you can actually find um, innovative, creative um, ideas. So let's get into it. So why is this important? Um, we can see from the screen, leaders can increase productivity by, using, and I like this quotation, creativity disconnect from the accustomed and move into uncharted territories with the aim to discern unique and useful solutions. That is from Alpha Gamma. So I like the idea of the unlocking from the norm, thinking outside of the box. But the reality is that in today's environment, leaders are expected to solve problems. And problem solving really can be an art. It does require a fair bit of creativity, a fair bit of innovative thinking, because not all problems can be solved, by a spreadsheet or a calculator, or using a specific framework. There are problems that require some thinking outside of the box, some approach that has not necessarily been documented in the policies and procedures manual, or in how you have to go about doing things. So it is important then for us to step away from this concept that we're not creative, because once you're in a leadership role, you're managing people, you definitely have to have an element of creativity within your decision making. I think it is a requirement now. And as the environment becomes even more challenging, we also now have to look at proactive, not just problem solving. How do we actually create new paths? How do we actually develop new strategies, new products, new services, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things? That's part of the role that we have now as leaders. And that to me constitutes creativity. And so once we're thinking about it now, we're not talking about necessarily coming up with a work of art that's going to last hundreds of years. We're talking about really practical solutions. Now we're here on your desk today. There is an issue that needs to be resolved. And then Monday, when you come to work, there is something that needs to be addressed and resolved. Uh, and it's not so clear that the path, is 1, 2, 3, 4. There may be some little gymnastics that you have to do. So that's basically where we want to go. All right. So let's move the process forward. So what we're saying, what about you? All right. How can you enhance your creativity? That's where we want to go today. We want to look at two basic pillars on which creativity is built or stands. One of them is what we call convergent thinking, and the other is divergent thinking. Yeah? And if we learn and master how and when to apply these approaches, we're going to find our creativity will we increase leaps and bounds, and our productivity and our effectiveness is also going to be greatly enhanced. So we just want to spend a couple minutes now looking at convergent and divergent thinking, and then we're going to see how we can apply them. I would love for you to come on board doing the application. But at any time, remember, there's a chat. We look forward to having you ask questions, add value through your input. So please use the chat. So let's venture. I'm actually unapologetically going to look at Wikipedia's approach to it because it was so clearly set out. So there we go. So the convergent thinking focuses on trying to get to narrow things down to maybe you have one answer at the end. So the objective is when we're looking at a problem, we sort of narrow things down to maybe we have two options, and then we choose the one that is supposedly the correct, bear that in mind, answer. So that is the kind of thinking which, for those of you who have gone through some of the behavioral connections, this is something that we should look at. Creativity from your behavioral preferences, you could see that the convergent thinking is more C style, compliance, conscientiousness, C, the left side, or S to some extent. So that's it. We want to find a solution, one answer to the issue. So that's more left-sided in our discerning communication framework. Reserved, task-oriented, or reserved, people-oriented in our DISC framework. Anyway, so what it is then is that you want to find this best answer. And so the intention is then speed, accuracy, using logic, using templates, using systems to actually get to what should be the best answer. And it would also then have some routines. You would have some processes that you go through, some templates, some ways of doing things that once this comes up, then you set it in motion. And at the end of the day, you should spit out the right answer. As you can see from the document, the graph, the right image, where you have inputs coming into having a position and a particular answer, other inputs coming into position and an alternative answer, and then you resolve it to come out to what is the best solution. When we get to the practical thing, you will see what this means. Any questions so far? I want to go quickly, but I don't want to also be just rambling on without any sense of where this is landing. Any questions? Please, in the chat. Am I clearish? All right. At any time, chat is there. All right. So the divergent approach is more, in a sense, what we would call like the DI, the dominance, the driven, right-sided, outgoing, task-oriented, outgoing, people-oriented approach, where this method, you generate a lot of ideas. So we have many solutions, and so it's it's sort of a brainstorming. Let's throw things against the wall, basically, right? And so you explore many options, many possible solutions, and see how they are connected or not. Ideally, at the end, the perfect solution would be to start with your divergent approach, where you just throw things out, look at possibilities, maybe things that you have never explored. And then once you have that, then introduce some level of convergent thinking, where you might look to specific ideas that come up and see if you can narrow them down to see their value or not. So that's basically the framework in terms of creativity. One is sort of narrowing things down, trying to look for what is the best, and the other is really explore possibilities and see how things are connected or not. All right, let's get to some practical things to see if we can have some meaning added to this. And this is where, again, I would plead, beg for your input. So let us look at it. Suppose you are in charge of a unit. You know, this is, you have a unit that you're in charge of, and the results, you're not meeting budget, put it this way. And management, senior management is down on your back, or your shareholders are down on the back to say, hey, this cannot continue. So one approach then is to get into a number crunching exercise, where we look at our expenses, where we try to see what is it that we can share, what can we renegotiate, what can we cut out of the budget, all of that, in order to improve the bottom line. That is classical convergent thinking. So at the end of the exercise, we're going to say, okay, fine, we have made a decision. We're going to cut this. So that is, and we're going to, remove this or renegotiate this. And that gives us some clarity then as to an action plan that we're going to use here. On the other side, where maybe your D style or your I style leader might take a different approach. They're going to say, okay, fine. We feel that we run a pretty tight ship. So trying to shave expenses, costs from our expenses isn't really going to get us to where we want to go. Yeah. So we have to look at a broader picture. We have to reimagine the whole unit. We have to look at, are there revenue, our income generating possibilities? What is it that we do? Can we redefine our whole approach? And that's the kind of divergent thinking now, that it's a what if. What if we did this? What if we didn't do that? What if we left this service out altogether? What if we added this income generating possibility? That then opens up all sorts of different things. So instead of, maybe narrowing down to one's, action plan, the action plan might be broader. It might be a whole strategic plan that looks at things from a different perspective. So I hope that I'm getting the message across as to the two approaches. And of course, again, in terms of a practical application, one would want to have a leadership team or a team that would actually be open to embracing both approaches to creativity. So, we could have a team that's quite comfortable with the brainstorming, with think out of the box thinking about the reimagining of the entire organization, the entire unit. And then we could also have those who are more focused, that we say, okay, fine, go. And then let us look at each piece, each strategy, and to break that down into concrete things that we can see, we can measure, and that we can have some kind of a template going forward. Questions? I really need to get some feedback as to where we are with this. But I'm mindful of time. So if you can just pump into the chat, love to get your input. All right. All right. But I understand. Sometimes maybe you're even at work, kind of. Yeah. So another practical application. right? So this is case number 2. So you have a product or a service that you have to promote. Yeah. The contingent approach to um, convergent thinking approach to it would be, all right, let us look at, we are taught this. Let us find an avatar, who it is that we're talking to, see them, tell them name, Mary, who is a 45-year-old, da da da. So we narrow down and we know that we're speaking to this individual. All right. So where does Mary shop? Or, all of those things. Then we want to know what's top of mind for Mary. What keeps her up at night? What is the pain? What are the Mary's pain points? 1, 2, 3 in order of priority. So we go through that. Where does Mary get her information? So we go through the channels, bam, bam, bam. Right? No point in putting anything on Instagram because Mary never goes. That's where it is, right? So, so we look at the medium, and then finally, that after we do all of that, we come down to, okay, fine. The way to reach Mary is to have either a 15-second or a 30-second video. It's going to be sending across these points. We're going to hit bam, 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 these 3 bullet points. That's the message that we want to get to Mary. And that's the convergent approach to getting the product out. The divergent approach is to look at the products and services and to look at multiple niches. Yes, we can address this niche, but also there is a niche over here. And so one of the things that we might come to is diversified messaging. Why do we only have to talk to Mary when Andrew, has issues that we cannot address? Or even here is an underserved niche where, this product is, basically all alone. And we could actually take away some market share there. So let's look at a campaign that embraces multiple channels, multiple media, multiple messages. That's the sort of divergent approach. You could see, for example, though, if we go back to behavioral styles, which is something that I think we should always be concerned of, you could see that challenge, that divide, where some of the marketing and advertising people are in a meeting with the FC, who is saying, "Yeah, oh come on, let's focus. Why are we scattering? Why don't we focus, laser focus, and go after Mary?" And the argument on their side would be, why are we leaving money on the table? Why don't we address these niches? Yeah, the return on investment will be great because, we have all of these segments that we're targeting. That's the dynamic that we would have in our organization, in our teams, as we look at this. Those are the basic approaches. So the avatar seeking individuals are not any less creative, because that message would speak directly to Mary. Mary will hear the ad in her voice, will find out her need. That's creativity. Sometimes we don't think of creativity but that's creativity, where you actually have sat down and worked through how to get a clear message that speaks specifically to someone and their needs. That's creativity. That's why I want to say to you that creativity is something, it's not it's esoteric, it's not otherworldly, it's something that we need on a day-to-day basis. The divergent thinking might again come across as hairy-fairy, as okay, these guys are kind of not so kind of loony, but it's also I'm scared to use the word structured, but there is some kind of system related to it, in the sense that you do want to put up your possibilities, and you do want to examine how relevant they are to the goal. You want to also see how interconnected they are, so that you could actually get value. You know, you get a 1 + 1 = 3 approach if you can find the interconnectedness. So both of them are in a sense logical. So I'm just suggesting, from a critical thinking point of view, or a creative thinking point of view, if you pull the two together, then you get the best solution. That's part of your approach to creativity. Comments, suggestions? All right. I'm gonna just move it forward, uh, so that we don't have an unnecessarily long over longer session than we need to. So personal application. So let us look at you in your small corner, right? So you're being challenged. You know, let us say me. Okay, I'm being challenged to have my ends meet. I have more um, days than pay. Right? Uh, and so if I am creative, I can actually combine convergent and divergent thinking to try and get out of my box. So, one, I can pull up my spreadsheet. I can look at all of my expenses. I can, run the numbers, look at the root causes. So, where is it going? Why does it have to go there? What can I do in terms of managing outflows better? So that's would be the sort of convergent approach. Maybe I carry a bag, bag to lunch instead of going to a fancy restaurant. Um, at the same time, it doesn't stop me from allowing my brain to roam. To go and to think. Okay, what kind of skills do I have? Um, is it possible that I could use some competence that I have? Is there some asset that I have that's lying idle? What is it? So I allow my mind to run freely to see if there is something that I haven't thought about that could actually transform my very future. So not just now chinksing along so that I can maybe just barely meet my monthly expenses, but it could be transformational. And that's where the divergent thinking comes, where you allow yourself. And there's a whole set of actions that would help you to think in a divergent way. Some of it relates to, your relaxation, your sleep. There's a little period before you're dozing off, where if you really focus on an issue and put questions to your subconscious, when you wake up in the morning, you're likely to be in a much better position. So that's something that you can look at. So all of these things, we talk about the empowering why questions, all of that would help you in your divergent thinking, where you step away from your brain and leave it alone. Leave the subconscious alone to go and do what it does, which is to find answers. So your role would be relax, put yourself in a place where you're comfortable, you're calm, and especially just at pre-sleep process. If you really focus heavily on the answers that you want and um, put questions to your subconscious and then go and sleep, um, the brain, will work. There's science that suggests that you actually the brain activity is the brain is a lot more active during REM sleep than during the day. So give the brain work. That's some sort of bonus. All right. So that's where we are. Just wanna um, suggest something to you that we actually look at things like this innovation, creativity in our how to improve critical thinking, influence and impact program. It's a 6-week program with a 2-month mentoring at the end of it. We have multiple courses online in the process. I'm going to suggest that you go to Critical Thinking, that's Success with People.org, and look at it. Why am I saying that? because today I want to offer you um, an option to go to this site, look at it, um, and send an email to info@successwithpeople.org with something that you got from today's program that show that you were in the program. This has to happen by the close of day on Monday, midnight Monday. So yeah, something that you got here that means that this is just open for people who are hearing my voice today, and suggest the level of discount that you would like to obtain. Amazing, crazy, right? But yeah, who knows what we might accept. So you're going to go, you look at critical thinking at successwithpeople.org. Send an email to info@successwithpeople.org that says, hey, Trevor, I, enjoy this and I, drew this from it and I want a percent discount. Who knows? So that's my that's my offer to you. Clear? Clear? Info. Go to critical thinking that successwithpeople.org. Look at this um, program. It's fully outlined there. And send an email to info@successwithpeople.org. So in case you weren't paying attention, let me give you a quick thing that you could actually send that you say, okay, this is what I got. So we were looking at enhancing your creativity, and we're saying that creativity is not this otherworldly thing. Creativity actually could be just a matter of observance, a matter of gathering data, and ultimately we showed you two pillars of creativity. One is convergent thinking, and the other is divergent thinking. And the convergent thinking is really sort of narrowing things down with a view to get to maybe two alternatives and then choosing the best, right? So it's more bringing things down into a choice between one or two things. All right. The divergent thinking is the opposite. Is maybe what you would call out of the box thinking, is brainstorming, where you actually look at multiple solutions and see how they are interconnected and see how you can embrace them into what it is that you're doing. We use two examples. One of them would be where you have running a unit and the profitability is not what is desired. The convergent approach would be to go and crunch the numbers and see where you can save, what you can cut, what you can save, etc. So that you can then improve the bottom line. The divergent approach is to reimagine the whole unit. Are there services maybe that you shouldn't do anymore, or are there ways that you can increase your revenues? Can you just rethink, re-strategize what it is that the unit does? That's one case. We also look at a personal case. We looked at advertising, a promo for a product or services. Again, one approach would be to do the very book focused thing where you identify the target, have it as an avatar where you actually identify the person, the personality, name them, what age, what it is, where they go, where they shop, where they look at information from, and actually narrow down then what it is that you want to say to them. What are the pain points, what medium, and maybe at the end you say, okay, fine, we're going to choose between a 15-second and a 30-second ad. And that's the convergent approach. The divergent approach is to look at the product and services and to look at all the possibilities. What niches could be addressed by our product and services? And at the end, you might actually find that you have a campaign that looks at multiple channels with multiple messages, etc. So those are the two approaches. The best practice we suggest is maybe you start with the divergent approach and then take each piece and apply the convergent, narrow down focus approach to solving the problem or identifying a way forward. So that's it. A reminder that you have an opportunity by the close of by midnight on Monday Eastern Standard Time to go to criticalthinking.successwithpeople.org and look at this offer with respect to this program. It's a 6-week program with a 2-month mentorship, multiple courses in it that deals with critical thinking, deals with impact, deals with innovation, all online with a community, membership community that will be able to share information. All of that is there. Go and then send an email to info@successwithpeople.org to say, hey, Trevor, I like the program. I appreciated this live cast. I got this from the live cast, and I'm cashing in on your offer. I want a X% discount. There we go. And if you have a colleague, maybe just say, there are 2 of us, what we can do, or we have a team. Let's see what you can do for us. Let's talk. Thank you. All the best. Bye. Still open. I'm going to leave it open for a couple of minutes. So if you want, you can just type in the chat. All right. Here we go.